Thank you guys for checking out the Real Estate Time Freedom Show by InvestorFuse. Today, Jason Lucchesi is joining us. He is the CEO of No Flipping Excuses and the real estate investment company Global Fortune Solutions. Jason has been a full-time investor since 2008 and has been involved in well over 250 million in closed real estate transactions. We've been having a good laugh before we went on air here. He's got a LeBron. If you're just listening to this on the podcast app or iTunes, he's got some awesome gear there. Signed LeBron jersey, a Kentucky jersey signed from a championship team, or I guess they were undefeated but lost that year.
They were, yeah.
So he's got some serious office swag that I'm digging so far. But Jason, thank you for your time today, man. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on the show, Carlos. Super appreciate it, man. Looking forward to sharing with your listeners and viewers and just giving them as much help as possible.
Love that, man. And I gave that kind of intro on you, but do you want to talk a little bit about where you're at right now to give the listeners a little bit more context of what you're doing?
Sure. So we're primarily doing wholesaling. 70% of our business is primarily based on doing wholesale transactions. 10% of it is going to be geared towards doing some rehabs. We really, from a standpoint of, we really like to cherry pick for our rehabs. We don't like to get in rehab projects too much. And then the remaining part is for our buy and holds. So that's single family or commercial, we're really starting to focus and shift gears. Not a whole lot. I'm mainly kind of being the front runner on it with, pulling it, but we're doing more apartment types deals as well. Units, 5 units up to 60 units. We're looking at deals mainly in the Midwest. And, just super excited. We're doing that, since 2008 when I got started off as a one-man band. And now I have a really, really great team. We're starting to, get things running and moving on a really good pace. And just really, full of gratitude with those individuals that are on the team.
Very cool, man. Yeah, I had the pleasure of meeting some of the squad the other day when we were doing some onboarding stuff for InvestorFuse. So that's really cool. And yes, you were around when the last market cycle, and that's just been like a hot topic conversation, like a market correction or market crash coming up. Kind of getting more into those other strategies. Is that part of the reason that you're doing that?
Yeah, when I was actually a loan officer prior to becoming a full-time investor, so I definitely saw what was happening and why it happened, and saw the devastating reactions from that market crash. And it was something that some very smart economists saw, and some of those same economists are saying the same thing about this market. It is going to be, in my opinion, a little bit different. But from a multifamily standpoint, people are always going to need housing. It's very stable. It's very reliable. You really don't go up with values like a residentials do. You kind of create your own value with multifamily properties. Because if you are acquiring a multifamily property that maybe has a bad operator, and the expenses were just, not handled correctly, right there could be an opportunity to increase value just by doing some small things, by having a great operator come in and fix those things from the bad operator, and maybe increasing rents, 1-3%, and still be under what the market is charging. And you might have just increased the value 10-20% just by doing those small things. And that has nothing to do with the market. So those are some of the things that we're doing. And we also like to stay within a wholesale standpoint and cherry pick the properties that we want to keep within our own portfolio, just to kind of hedge from a standpoint, from a value perspective. Here in the Midwest, we really don't see rapid appreciation like some of the states like Florida, Arizona, Nevada, California. States like that, we don't see rapid appreciation like that. It's typically 1-3% per year is what we'll see. Some parts are going to be 4 to 6%, but other than that, we just try and adapt as the market is shifting. And I do believe we are already in a market correction.
Awesome, man. I love that breakdown. And the multifamily seems like it's definitely not my niche or sandbox that I play in, but it definitely seems like the multifamily game, that's a completely different ball game as far as going about, if we're talking on the market correction, completely different than single family houses where the values could fluctuate. It's really just someone going in there and fixing up operations and processes and stuff like that. A John Calipari going in there and fixing everything up.
Exactly. Exactly. I like that analogy.
Cool, man. Let's talk a little bit kind of we were talking about before going on air, and one thing that you want to discuss today is kind of the lead generation and finding these off-market deals, whether we're in a market correction or you're thinking that we may already be in one or starting one. No matter what cycle we're in real estate, everybody has to find deals or leads. That's really the lifeblood of the business, most investors would say. Let's
Yeah.
talk a little bit about how you guys are doing that in your company.
Sure. So not to, steer anybody in the wrong direction here. First and foremost, we do direct mail, we do cold calling, we do those things. We do dial-in, door knocking, we do the driving for dollars things. Those things do work. But when you're in a competitive market and you're not really focusing on a sub-market, you're going to be fighting over deals. So one of the things that I needed to do when I was starting off, because Carlos, when I got started, I was doing short sales and nobody else was doing them. So they were all over the place. There was actually too many for me to handle. And when the market started shifting then, and I really didn't feel comfortable doing the short sales anymore, I needed to shift gears. And that's when I started using and leveraging social media. One in particular was LinkedIn. I was wanting to connect with people that were at banks, credit unions, and hedge funds. And I was targeting folks that had a title of asset manager. And I would go in to LinkedIn, I would search for asset managers, and out of the blue, I would just start finding people that had direct access to assets that they were looking to liquidate. And when I mean assets, I'm meaning single family properties that are just sitting on their balance sheet that they're looking to liquidate. Most of the time, a lot of the smaller banks and even the regional banks, they take a lot of time when it comes to putting a property on the market. They have to put in a lot of equations such as how long is this property going to sit? Are we going to have to do rehab to this property? Are we going to? How much are we going to have to pay a real estate agent? Are we going to have to put any seller concessions into the deal? A lot of things are going into a mix here with them formulating what's going to be the best outcome. So what I started to do was market, and I was getting these properties long before it was going to an REO agent, and I was getting these properties at severe discounts. And banks would love that I was calling them because I took all of the fear, all of their problems right away. I just completely took care of those problems, and they were able to sell the properties to me at discounts. And I was able to buy one property at a time, or I could do packages of properties that they had. Some banks are going to be different. Some banks may not have anything when you call them. Some banks may have 5. Some banks may have 100. It just depends on when you call them. And it worked out extremely well for me because I was essentially, nobody knew about this property. It wasn't on the market. And now I have off-market properties, and being able to unload them to cash buyers was extremely simple because I was showing them these new properties, and I was getting them at discounts, and I was still able to sell them at a discount, and it would make sense for our ultimate end buyer.
Awesome. And you were wholesaling those primarily still?
Yeah,
And
I was wholesaling them.
Really?
Yeah, because a lot of people, when you get REOs from like the bigger banks, like U.S. Bank or Bank of America or Chase, they're going to have what's called deed restrictions, which means that you can't sell the property for more than 20% of what you're purchasing it for within your first 30 days. And then if you want to sell it for more, you have to wait until that 91st day to actually sell it for what you want. Well, when I'm dealing with the small local, state level, and regional level banks, they don't have those deed restrictions, and I'm able to sell them immediately, same day, for what I want to sell them for. And I use none of my own cash or credit for those deals, because at that time when I was just doing this right around 2010, 2011, my credit wasn't great. And even though I closed quite a few deals from a problem that I had back in 2008, my credit was still a problem. So I used either same day funding, or I used an agreement called an escrow agreement, which allowed me to use the end buyer's funds to close on my transaction, which was approved by title insurance companies and their underwriters. So it was completely legal, ethical, moral, all that good stuff. And we were able to get transactions closed seamlessly. And at that point, I wasn't really spending any money on marketing. I was just making phone calls to people.
Very cool. Before I had started wholesaling, Dan and our former business partner, Mike, I remember they had some course where they started on like an REO Rockstar course, and they had tons of success just making offers, probably similar to that. I don't think they were reaching out to people on LinkedIn and kind of getting them before they were made available through agents. I think they were just making offers through REO agents and still having success, still having some competition there with other investors making offers, but you're even going, a level before that, before they even get to an REO agent. Tell me a little bit, and if you have coaching on this or anything else, I'll definitely grab that from you after the show. Sure. Tell me a little bit about this, because it seems kind of like you're going on LinkedIn and kind of making cold approaches to these asset managers. Tell me a little bit about this process and how an investor listening to this could start doing that today.
No, I'm glad you asked that, because a lot of people, they do go about it in a cold approach. The best thing that you can do is, when you're wanting to connect with these types of folks, is you have to look at it much differently than you would if you just wanted to connect with another real estate investor. So some of the things that I encourage folks to do, and for folks that are listening right now, I'd highly encourage you to jot this down, or if you need to pause it, rewind it, whatever you need to do, is make sure, check out their profile, make sure they have a profile picture. Second is, make sure that they're connected with at least 300 people or more. You want them to at least have somewhat of an active account. You want to make sure that they have a summary / description of what they do with their company. You want to make sure that they have some skills, at least 3 skills that they have listed. As a bonus, this would be great if they're in 2 or 3 real estate related groups, which you can find at the bottom of their profile. You don't have to be connected with them to see this. That would be a huge plus. The other thing too is, if a lot of people that take their LinkedIn account from a professional standpoint, you could customize your URL. If that's done, great. If not, not a big deal. But when you're wanting to connect with these folks, best thing to do, and this is huge, this is going to be the difference between you having a 20% connection ratio versus us, where we're at like 55, 60%. When you're wanting to connect with these people and you're clicking on the connect button, there's an opportunity for you to click add note. It's really important that you add a note, and it could be something like, "Hi Jane, my name is Jason Lucchesi. I'm a local real estate investor here. I wanted to reach out to you as I felt we could do some business together. If you feel the same, reach back out." Something like that. That's not verbatim exactly. I'm just rolling off the cuff here. But that's the way to do it, because if you don't send a personalized note, it's just going to send off that random, "Hi, I'd like to add you to my professional network on LinkedIn." There's really nothing special about that, right? Everybody can do that. So you have to do something that not everybody else is doing and actually make a customized message. And then you click send. Now, one of the things that we do, we have a free basic account, Carlos. So I believe you could send out 3,000 of those connections. Now, if we don't hear from somebody within 3 business days, you can go back and click withdraw that invitation to connect. So if they're not active on LinkedIn, more than likely they're not going to see that. They're not going to be on there. So just withdraw that invitation. There's plenty of people on there. On the asset manager title alone, there's over 1.5 million of them on LinkedIn.
Hmm.
So you're not going to have a problem finding these people. And they go by several titles, Carlos. It could be loan workout officer, it could be special assets manager. They could be in a secondary department that handles more of the what's called OREOs, other real estate owned properties, REOs, all that type of stuff. And they could be all over the place from that standpoint. So they do go by several different titles. And the great thing about it is we just had somebody within we do have a training program. It's called Direct Deal Profits, but I don't want to pitch it or anything on here. I just want to tell you about an individual that went through our training, and he is extremely part-time. He just said that he was reaching out to somebody, and I posted this on Facebook. I'll actually tell you exactly the response that he received. It was actually really cool.
What market's he in?
What's that?
What market is he in?
I will be able to tell you that here in just 1 second. So
Awesome.
He said, had an asset manager return my LinkedIn request saying, and I quote, "I've never had an investor reach out to us like you did. We've always used realtors. Let's talk," with an exclamation point. And Scott is in, he is in the Nevada market. He's in Las Vegas. So very, very competitive market for people out there. That's a super ultra competitive market. And he reached out. All he did was reach out. The guy's a CPA, so he's busy. So he really is very part-time. And we specialize it for folks that still work 9 to 5 to do this, from a part-time standpoint, or if you want to do it full-time, you could still have success with it. And it's awesome, man. It's really, really cool to connect with, these folks at banks, credit unions, and hedge funds. Most folks think hedge funds, their only sole purpose is buying. And that's really far from the truth, because a lot of them are in liquidation mode right now too.
Interesting, man. And I'll definitely grab that training link from you. That's not a pitch or anything. I think people can get a lot of value from that. What does that course entail actually?
It shows folks exactly what we do within our own business to find off-market properties, working directly with asset managers and some of the other titles that we just went over. We show folks exactly how to do that. It's primarily a wholesaling training program. We do have some exit strategies on how we teach folks how to do rehab and whatnot, but it's not a rehab program. It's mainly wholesaling. Okay,
perfect. So it's wholesaling with some specifics on this, finding the off-market deals. That makes a ton of sense to me, man. That's awesome.
Cool.
For your guys' business, and just to repeat Jason from earlier, I know you guys can go back and take some notes, and we'll have some show notes here. He is doing a lot of the same lead generations that all you guys are doing out there: cold calling, direct mail, some type of online presence, if I'm correct there.
Yeah.
But he's doing this on the side. Tell me a little bit about your day-to-day operations. Who's doing this for you inside your company? I know you said you have a 50 to 65% response rate or connect rate on LinkedIn, and you can send 3,000 invites at a time. So how do you have this divvied up in your company to do this on a day-to-day basis?
So primarily what we do with this side is we hire out virtual assistants for this. Because I really value our acquisitions team's, time, spending it on actual deals. So when we do make a connection with an asset manager, then we'll, take it to that next step and have a conversation with them. Because the cool thing is, once you connect with these folks, you get their email, you get their phone number, you get all of their information. And it's really wild, man. You could just pick up the phone, give them a call. Now, the steps that I always recommend and encourage is once you do connect with somebody, send off some type of a message through LinkedIn's platform, or send them a message, just kind of thanking them for taking the time to connect with you, and that you'll be reaching out to them in the next day or two. Just give them some time to see that, because then a cold call turns into more of a semi-warm call, because then they'll at least know that you're going to be calling, right? Mm-hmm. So that's one of the main things that I would encourage you to do. And then the thing with LinkedIn too is you don't want to spam. So you don't want to send off 3,000 connection requests in a day. That would definitely get your account flagged and suspended. So we only recommend maybe sending off 15 to 20 per day. That's what we recommend with the free basic account. Now, if you have a premium account, which we've used in the past, we've tested it. Premium accounts are great on LinkedIn, especially if you want to ramp this up and get it going even faster. The one that we recommend, I believe, is $64.99, and it's definitely well worth it. If you want to send off, 50, 100 connection requests per day, you could do that. Your account's not going to get flagged like it would as a basic account. So that's what I would recommend and encourage on that front as well for having success from this standpoint. So our acquisitions side doesn't really handle a whole bunch of this until we actually get to a point where an asset manager actually has assets for us to review.
And that's pretty much going along that process there as far as like you send them the invite, you find your cookie cutter, you do the search for asset manager or the other verbiage that you used, you find your cookie cutter criteria profiles to go after, you send your message with the invite, and then you kind of send like a follow-up message like, hey, I'll call you in the next couple of days. What does that nurture process look like after that? They usually just send you a list of properties when they have them, or you do a little bit of follow-up there with the messaging every month or so?
Sure. So it's a relationship, right? So if the person likes you, they're going to be more engaged with having a good conversation with you. If you come off, you're dry and you're wanting to get right to the point, that's fine. Some of the asset managers really want you to get right to the point too. If that's the case, great. But most of the time when you do call them on that first call, Carlos, they're going to let you know, yes, I do have assets. No, I don't have assets. And that's fine. Some of them will say no, but make sure you follow up with them on a monthly basis. And even if they say no, send a handwritten thank you card. Just let them know thanks for their time, that you look forward to doing business with them. And just that goes a really, really long way. Personalized messages like that go above and beyond what anybody else is doing. If they say yes, make sure that you try and find out as much from them as possible. Normally what they'll have you sign is a non-circumvent, non-disclosure agreement. So you're not going around them trying to do anything in particular. You sign it, it's not a big deal. And then typically what they want is any assets that you review and you like, they'll just want a letter of intent. And for those out there that don't know what that is, it's just a letter giving your intent to purchasing certain properties, either it be one or several properties. And it's a non-legal binding contract. So even if you say you want all 30 and for some reason you can't close on them, it's a non-legal binding contract. So you're not in a position to where you have to put down escrow money or anything like that. But if you are going to send in a letter of intent saying you're closing on 30 properties, I would highly encourage you to close on those 30 properties, unless something comes up with inspection or title or anything like that. You will be purchasing these properties in as-is condition. So sometimes do your due diligence beforehand, but sometimes in cases, they will give you an opportunity at the bank or hedge fund level to perform due diligence, typically 7 to 10 days. Especially you get a little bit longer if it's a larger package of properties that you're going to be taking down.
Yeah, Jason hit the nail on the head with that as far as just like relationship mastery, I think is so big, just not in this narrow subject that we're talking about right now, but just real estate investing, life in general, everything like that. It's funny. I'll show you right here. I have my letters. So if you guys get a letter like this, I try to send out one thank you letter every morning as part of my workday startup routine to either someone like personal or someone business-wise to get that started up. Great habit to get into.
Yeah, it's huge, man. Even if a seller, you're talking to a seller on the phone and they're not ready to sell at that point in time. That's why we're so excited with InvestorFuse. Is it's more of like a lead system to where we're going to be able to go through a whole entire process
Mm-hmm.
of making sure they're followed up with, right?
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that we always do is making sure that we send them a thank you letter for their time, and that we'll be in touch with them, because we've had 7-8 touches, and boom, we'll get a deal, and it's mainly because of the follow up, and it's because of the relationship and rapport that we built with those people. It's huge, man. That's a great thing that you just showed to the listeners and to the folks watching this. Is handwritten pieces go such a long way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. And I've even got a couple over like Christmas or just to start the year off, and I can like feel I'm like, damn, I like really appreciate that person. That goes like a long way. That's just more so like it. I guess it is some clients that I got some from, mostly, but you can just see like that's going to make someone, if it is that scenario working with the seller, that's really what's going to set you apart from the competition. Everybody knows it's out there. This real estate game, the wholesaling game is a low barrier of entry to get into. So a lot of people send out direct mail or call people. Cold calling is super popular this past year. So you have to think of it that way too. It's always good to have an abundance mindset, but you have to think it about that way too. And I like the 2 points that we touched on. Most of the time, the sellers that you're working with, maybe not particularly when you find these REO deals or REO properties, they're going to be talking to other investors. And then the second thing with the thank you note, just like kind of humanizing your company, showing that you're there and that you're happy to do business and serve them.
For sure.
Cool, man. I want to talk a little bit, since we're going down this REO property acquisition rabbit hole here. Tell me a little bit, any advice or insight that you have as far as selling these deals to cash buyers. I'm sure there might be like another type of obstacle that you'd have to go through on that.
So the great thing about this is there's no deed restrictions. So we're not going to have to deal with, holding the property, doing anything like that. Mainly we're just doing either an assignment, or we're doing a double close, to where we're doing an A to B, B to C transaction. I always encourage folks, when you're dealing with REO deals, you're gonna have to do an A to B, B to C transactions. They don't allow assignment contracts, so you're not going to be able to do the and or assigns. These are going to be A to B, B to C transactions, and I always collect non-refundable deposits from my end buyers. If they're not serious and they don't want to do that, then I go on to the next one, because the deals that we get from these individuals are so hot that we'll typically send it off to I call it our VIPs, but it really is the people that are actually closing. So I'll send off like a text message to like 10 of our solid performers, and just be like, hey, we've got this deal, or we've got this package of deals. Let us know what you think. Perform your due diligence. Let us know on an offer. Like, we just sent one of them out the other day, and we had a response within 24 hours. 3 people above asking price on the property. So, as long as you have a solid cash buyer database, and I always recommend to folks, have your cash buyer database put together first before you start going out there and put money into marketing dollars and all that kind of stuff. Because if you don't know what your cash buyers want, how are you going to go out there and get it? You might have a great deal that called in from a direct mailer, but it may be in an area that people aren't buying in. So that's another thing too. Also, we've done some, I know this was a term coined not too long ago, but wholesale. We'll do some of those as well. Maybe some light paint, some light touch up with carpet or whatnot, and we'll be able to pull substantially more profit out of those transactions as well.
That's awesome. My curiosity, what's the best way for people listening to this, if they're either just starting out, to build cash buyers list, or even seasoned investors? What's your best advice on growing that cash buyers list with quality VIP people that are performing?
So best thing to do is, I'll give off a few. Local MLS sold cash transactions. Find out who the people were that were buying. Go to a real estate agent that's investor friendly. Find out who those people were. Skip trace them. Maybe send out a direct mail piece. Talk to some other wholesalers that already have a cash buyer database built up. You could use the LinkedIn strategy. that we use. Just type in real estate investor, and then you could narrow it down for your area, and you could start connecting with other investors. Best way to weed out who's not a performer, find out which title company that they're closing, that they're using. And say, yeah, I'd love to use that title company since you've used them before. And then say, do you have a closing agent that you prefer for us to work with over there? And then try and get that information. Once you get that information, call over there, and you could be like, hey, I was referred over to you by Josh. We're going to be doing some transactions together. I just wanted to find out from you, what do you guys require from me in order to pull title? How much time do you guys need in order to set up a closing? And then I wrap it up with, just out of curiosity, when was the last time you guys had Josh in for a closing? And then boom, they'll either say, oh, Josh was just in last week. Or they'll say, oh, we've never closed a transaction with Josh. So you'll either find out really quickly, either Josh is not a legit cash buyer or Josh is a legit cash buyer, because a lot of people will ask for proof of funds letters, and they may get one, right? But more than likely they won't, because if somebody's reaching out to me and they're like, yeah, I need a proof of funds letter, I'm like, no, I'm not giving you one. Especially if it's somebody that's just calling me, I'm not going to give you my financial information right off the bat. Even if it's a retirement account statement that you want or a bank account statement that you want, not doing it. I'm not going to send it to somebody I don't know. And legit cash buyers aren't going to send you that information either, unless they know that you're a serious individual as well. And if you're brand new, this is the best way to do it. You don't have to have a ton of credibility. All you need to do is just ask a simple question to the title company agent, or if you're in an attorney state, find out from the attorney. And that's one of the simplest ways to find out. Now, obviously, if you're pulling people off of the MLS, you can see that they've closed transactions. So that's a no-brainer from there. But I'm talking about other people that you may meet off of LinkedIn or Facebook or social media. Definitely vet those people in and find out what title company they're using.
No, that's really great insight. And there's a ton of nuggets that people could apply to their business and strategy on both ends, acquisitions and dispositions, right from listening to that. I love that. And the MLS hack is definitely what we use in the day. I feel like that's the purest thing you can do, assuming you guys have MLS access or can buddy up with a realtor that does for your local MLS. But just looking at cash transactions in your desired area, you can see who the buyers are. You may have to skip trace, or maybe an LLC to send mail to or something like that. But that really is the purest form to see who's buying. But then I love asking about the title company. You can still search for investors on LinkedIn. And of course, for those people that are working for you and you want to establish these relationships, don't forget to hit them with a thank you letter.
Right.
On that point too, guys, I know I've recommended this book before, but the book Giftology is a great book. It talks about using.
I'm gonna write that one down.
Yeah, that's a great book. And it talks about relationship building, and I guess it talks about building more profit through relationships and gifting. But that's a great hack right there. A thank you letter goes a long, long way. It will make you stand out above other people.
Yep. Absolutely. Gifts go a really long way. Quick story here. When I was doing a ton of short sales, and you got to think, when I was doing these loss mitigation agents, the individuals that would handle the short sales and let you know if your offer was approved or if they gave you a counter, their files were piled up back between 2008 and 2012. I was having a really tough time getting a hold of this individual. So what I did is I found out it was a woman. I found out who we were dealing with, who it was assigned to. I sent her a bouquet of flowers. They weren't like roses or anything like that. They were just like nice seasonal flowers. And I said, hey, I just want, and on the card, I just said, hey, whenever you get a convenient moment, just give me a call. It's about, one of the files on your desk. And kid you not, she calls me up. She's crying. And she said, nobody's ever sent me flowers before in my life. How can I help you?
Oh my God.
And I was like, I felt so bad. I'm like, oh, geez. But I also felt happy that I was able to make somebody that happy that they need flowers. And we had to go back and forth. She got on the file right away, but I didn't get exactly the number I wanted, but she was able to work with me, and we were able to help a homeowner not have to go into foreclosure. And at the end of the day, everybody was a happy camper. But man, I've been doing the whole gifting thing ever since I was in the mortgage business, and it goes a really long way.
Yeah, absolutely, man. That is so up my alley. I can't even express it here to you via video or podcast. But for those of you who aren't into like gifting or, relationship building, stuff like that, even look at it from just a numbers standpoint. If you spend $50 sending a bouquet of flowers and you're able to get that deal, it's just going to help for the majority of people that care about, happiness, having fun in life, everything like that. Maybe a little bit of jokester like me and Jason. It's just fun to do that stuff too. So you're killing a lot of birds with one stone, which I try to do in both business and life. So that's awesome to hear.
Absolutely, man.
Cool, man. So we touched on a lot of stuff. Let me get that link again for your training course. I'm sure there'll be some people that will be interested in that. I want to just have this down here so I can put that in the show notes.
Sure. Yeah. It's directdealprofits.com / oof.
You can message it to me after this.
Okay.
And we'll get it for everybody.
Figure out the right link for it, because the one right now, it's at full price, but we can do a discount for your folks if they end up.
Perfect. Yeah, man. We'll definitely get the discount. Much appreciated for the InvestorFuse community or anybody that's a fan of the Time Freedom Show. Subscribe there. A lot of applicable things that you guys can take from this interview and start doing in your business. Make a LinkedIn account if you don't have one. Start doing some searches for investors to sell deals to, and then also asset managers. For those of you who are looking for more deals, you may be doing a lot of lead gen stuff that everybody's doing, cold calling, direct mail, online stuff. But this is really a great way, in my opinion. Jason obviously thinks so as well, to find deals. To wrap this thing up, Jason, you got any advice or last words for the audience here?
You know what, man? For anybody that's either brand new or they're intermediate or advanced, it's always good to be jotting down, your goals with your whys. Constantly, if you don't know what your why is, you need to identify it and make sure you know what you're working for, because this business can get tough. And the people that are successful versus the people that aren't successful have a stronger why. So you need to identify that and make sure that you have an accountability partner with you, even if it's a friend that's not even part of the business. Just be like, hey, could you follow up with me once a week, just to be like, hey, what are you doing? Are you slacking? Are you sitting on the couch, or are you doing the work? Just to kind of, have somebody just maybe send a text once a week. I'm really big with vision boards. When I created my first one in 2008, I put a bunch of stuff on there. And then when we moved into our new house, I hadn't seen it for like almost 5-6 years. And then I saw it, and it was crazy how much of the things came true off of that thing. So if you don't know what a vision board is, highly recommend watching the movie The Secret. The only thing that's missing from that movie is how to take action. And that's why I recommend the vision board. And then because I'm doing a brand new one. So I'll show people right here. It's over here. It's right there. But hey, I've got right here in the flash drive all the pictures that I want to put up there. I'm going to put pictures up there. It's going to be right there. So it's going to be a brand new one. I still do this stuff to this day. I write down my goals, everything that I need to do, and it's huge. And make sure, don't overwhelm yourself. Focus on one thing at a time. So many people overwhelm themselves, and next thing you know, stress levels are up. You're freaking out. Do one thing at a time, and then celebrate that. So many people don't celebrate enough, even if it's a small celebration. You get up, maybe you go out for lunch and just give yourself a celebration lunch. Maybe it's by yourself, because in the beginning, a lot of us, when we're getting started, we're solopreneurs in the beginning. We don't have a team right off the bat. So go celebrate. Give yourself victories. Be proud. So many people don't do that stuff. and don't ever let anybody tell you that you can't, because you can. And that's where I'll wrap it up with, because I feel like anybody could do anything that they want in life. They just have to have passion and a really strong why to be able to really make this thing work. And it's going to be hard, but the hard work pays off, and it's so rewarding.
Yeah, and it's in my opinion, it's all about building up that belief. Like you build up the belief, you're kind of just auto programmed to go into start achieving that stuff. And I could do a whole podcast episode all day talking about this stuff. And it's funny, I got a call from my friend, my best friend, yesterday around this time yesterday, 12 o'clock yesterday, calling me up. I had bought him. I'm big into the annual planners here, so I track everything. Like writing goals is like part of a routine, everything like that. And it's just scientifically proven.
Got one here too.
Awesome. And it's like scientifically proven. If you write that stuff out, your why, your intentions, your goals, stuff like that, it's just more. It's like 40% more likely to happen. So it's like, why would you not take the time to do that? But my best friend called me up yesterday in the middle of the day, and he's like, I bought him a planner some point end of last year, and he hasn't touched it. And he was like, Los, he was like, I need to call you. I need like an accountability buddy to help me set this up. And I was like, I would love an accountability buddy too. Like I'm pretty locked down on all my habits and writing goals out and stuff like that, doing my Spanish and working out every day. But I could use the accountability too. He's not in real estate, but that's a powerful thing. So it's funny that you bring that up, because I just had that phone call yesterday.
That's awesome.
Cool, man.
Really cool, man. Hey, real quick before we end it, I want to say thank you, Carlos, for having me on the podcast. Thank you to everybody over at InvestorFuse. Software so far is rocking out, and just really appreciate you guys. You're doing some amazing things in the marketplace, and look forward to, when this comes out, if anybody needs anything, they can always reach out to me.
Awesome, man. What's the best place to reach out?
Our site, noflippingexcuses.com. Folks can go there. Got tons of free stuff on there, and if they want to learn more about what we do, by all means, we're here. We're always willing to help.
Awesome, man. A pleasure and a privilege having you on. We might do another one just on daily routine stuff like that. I didn't know you got down like that. I knew we'd get along with the signed LeBron James jersey in the back there, but I didn't know you got down like that. That's like arguably my favorite thing to talk about, implement. And it's funny that I have, my best friend talking about that stuff. I told him that I'm pumped just to almost be like a Bill Belichick, Brady, just like setting up a system and like watching how he does with it, kind of be like 30 view of somebody else doing it since I've been doing it for years. So I'm pumped for that.
That's awesome, dude. That's awesome. I think it's huge. Like I had my third graders, I coach them. So we have a black level, gold level, white level, and gray level. So I coached the gold level, and we were facing a really tough team on Sunday, and I made them huddle around with me, and I made them do affirmations with me.
Love that.
And it totally got them in the right mindset. I totally felt like if I didn't do that, we would have gotten blown out. We still lost, but we lost it was a close game. It was 2 points. I feel like it's huge. Teaching that at that age is huge. It's I just had them repeat the stuff. They were laughing, they were smiling a little bit when I was doing it, but it got with them, man. And they played they played really, really tough. And I think I got a lot of that from playing sports growing up. Just a lot of that type of stuff. But man, it's huge. I love it.
Dude, that's the most formative years. I didn't get into, we talked about real estate career, stuff like that, and didn't get into your early childhood, but luckily I was blessed to be in like a super loving, like really joking around, always laughing family. So that's kind of just hardwired. So it's easy. I think it's easier for me to get on board with like the positive thinking, affirmations, visualizations type stuff like that. But I'm the same exact way. All my friends that have kids, same guy has a daughter, one of my best friend's nieces, my own 3 nieces. I get them all like affirmation coloring books just to help like implement that as soon as they
smart,
can.
Man.
Yeah, man.
That's awesome. I love it.
I'm off that. We're going to do a part 2, guys, on daily routine habits.
Let's do it.
College basketball, SEC, Kentucky basketball, LeBron. We're going to do all that stuff on a separate podcast. But dude, so much fun. I wish we'll definitely have to dive into that stuff a little bit more. Definitely appreciate you for the interview. InvestorFuse too. I'm going to be pumped to be ramping that up with you guys, get your follow-up sequences in place, everything like that. So a lot to look forward here. Already end of February, probably be early March or last week of February when we send this out. But time is just flying by here already, 2019.
Yeah, it has. It's been great so far, man. Got full of gratitude for it. You know, we're 8 feet above. We're walking. We're doing great things. You can't complain, man.
Yep, I need to work on my office vision board I have right here. I look at this all day. Start each day with
that's pretty sweet. I like it.
Yeah, man.
I like it. Well, go order yourself a board, man, and then do all the stuff. I'm going to go print off actual photos, the things that people used to do back in the day. And I'm going to put those suckers up there. And a lot of my stuff, though, is like vacations and seeing parts of the world. Back in my early 20s, it probably would have been more cars and a lot of the toys. But as I'm older with a family and stuff, it's all about seeing the world and just, being able to explore the world, man.
Yeah. How old are you now, if you don't mind me asking?
I am 36.
36. Okay.
Yep.
Gotcha. So I'm 28. I'm 28 now. My vision board will be, probably between your early 20s and, the mid 30s range.
Absolutely, man. I look forward to seeing it. I'm sure there'll probably be maybe a Ferrari or a Lamborghini on there.
Yep. Maybe a Porsche, something like that.
There you go.
Porsche, Tesla. Cool, guys. Well, I had a lot of fun on this episode. Thank you guys for checking out this episode with Jason Lucchesi, the man, and we will talk to you soon.